Tshepiso Sibisi. I am a social entrepreneur. That's what I do for a living, and a mother. And I come from a town called Guatemala in Springs. I fall under the letter P, which is pansexual. So, which loosely means I am just basically attracted to whomever I feel a connection with. I don't think so. I think to each their own. And I think that people should be allowed to express themselves the way that they're comfortable. I think that we are so used to living in boxes. We're so used to living in worlds where something is either black or white, that we're really struggling with what has been happening probably in the last 50, 30 years, where there's a gray area now, and everybody needs to now be comfortable with the fact that there's a gray area. Growing up, I grew up in a township, so I mostly played with boys, I would say. I was very sporty. I connected more with my cousins who are boys. I enjoy those sort of things, and I don't think that I thought much of it. I don't think even anyone thought much of it. And for a long time, even going through primary and high school, I just told myself that I'm just a tomboy. But as time progressed, it started feeling like it's an identity sort of issue. But because I come from a very, 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 very strong religious background, that sort of thing was sort of frowned upon. You wouldn't even imagine as a woman even considering liking another woman. But these are emotions that you wrestle with by yourself, where you're constantly be told that this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. But your emotions and your body are speaking something else. So there's a lot of confusion that happens, a lot of confusion that happened for me for a very, very long time. I'm talking years, where I even have children, where I felt strongly that I need to have a heterosexual setup, mother and a father and children, because I always wanted a family. I've always wanted children. So it's only in my late 20s and in my 30s where I started dissecting that to myself and really asking myself the hard questions, like who am I, what do I connect to, where do I see my life being, and that changed completely from very, very heterosexual to what I'm living now, which is a queer experience. I've never come out to my church. In fact, I stopped going to church when I was starting to kind of feeling like I needed to start being comfortable with myself, even before with anybody else. I felt that that's an environment that would not really be able to help me with this kind of a problem, or not problem, but with this kind of identity searching. So my mom was not very happy with that. And when it comes to like just the identifying of queerness, my mother was like, not in my house. You're not going to be that. It's very demonic. It's antichrist. It's, you name it, all of those things. So, which is what kind of fostered some of the decisions that I made in my life, where I felt, okay, what I'm doing is actually wrong. I need to get married. I need to get married. I need to get married. I need to have children. I need to live this thing in a way that I've been taught, because this is not how I was taught growing up. But you can only live a life for so long. You can only fight against yourself for so long, Eventually you're going to have to succumb to who you are. So that's what happened. And she passed on, so she's never had to really see me be fully out, I would say, if I would use those words. So in a way, to some extent, some sort of a blessing that I don't have to have that challenge or that conflict with her, because I know she wouldn't agree, but she's still my mother, and it's just conflict. It's just constant conflict in your mind. It feels like you're disappointing, but at the same time, it's like, but I'm old enough to be able to make my own decisions and live by those decisions. I generally feel like education should reflect society. It should reflect the people who are consuming that information. So even before we get to the issues of gender issues, I think that we do have an educational crisis where it doesn't reflect who we are. It doesn't help you prepare for a world that you have to exist in. So already there's a problem there. So to the gender issues and whatnot, I think it's a broken system. But I don't see anything wrong with children being prepared to understand that we're all different. We're all different. There's nothing wrong with anyone who is not like you. You are also just as amazing as anyone else. You know what I mean? So I think it shouldn't really come as let's teach them about this community. I think it should be an issue of let's learn how to accept people and their differences and learn how do we coexist, teach children how to work in teams. I think schools need to teach about acceptance of self. They need to teach children to be able to accept others and their differences. So yes, I think we can have lessons about people of this particular community, but I think it's an overall need. Children need to be taught about that they're people who are different from each other. Yeah, I think churches, for what they stand for, it would be a non-brainer that they do accept people for who they are. But I think it's going to be very difficult for them because it's an institution that's based on separating people to some extent. And no offense, because I come from the church, so I'm not saying anything trying to offend anyone. But I think it's based on a lot of it on racism, a lot of it on patriarchy, a lot of it on things that bring separation instead of bring people together. The New Gospel talks about love. It talks about people being able to share one space under one God. But I think the way that religion has been practiced on this continent and in the world at large, I don't know. I struggle with that. I struggle with that a lot. I don't feel like there's a place, but there are churches that I'm aware of that are very pro queer. I know a lot of queer gay pastors. So it is possible for those who feel compelled or accepted in those spaces. It's just really not for me. I think it's a lot of effort for me to try and convince people. It's a lot of effort to try and be wanted. I don't feel the need for it. It doesn't serve me. But, it is for who it works for. Yeah. South Africa is very patriarchal. Africa is very about the man leading, and patriarchy is really about the white male kind of masculine figure kind of controlling everything. So we live in that context, I feel. Culturally, I think we still are in a very homophobic sort of setup. There's a lot of change, and I think the will of the government of the day to try and say, let us recognize that there's a group of people who have been marginalized, who do live an experience that is not the same as others. Let's try and include them. I think that there's been great efforts, It's just, there is a lot of work that still needs to be done. I think the issue of parenting it also falls into the whole patriarchal argument that you would have, what we've been taught is that a child can only be raised in a male and female household. But we've seen people being raised by their grandmothers alone, by their mothers alone. I think that what's happening right now is that there's two things that are missing: information, and the information is out there. And this is what kind of irritates me at times, where people are like, can you teach me, what does it mean to be, there's books, there's the internet, the information is out there. I think people are just not willing to take the effort to find out for themselves and have the conversations with themselves. Am I really someone who's accepting of others who are different, To parent is to parent. A child needs nurturing, a child needs love. That has nothing to do with gender, it has nothing to do with sex, it has nothing to do with any of these things that people make it out to be about. Children need a loving home. And if whatever that looks like, that's what a child deserves. So I think we're concentrated too much on things that have got to do with nothing about nothing. And that's why it happens. We have these conflicts and we're like, it can't. But really the foundations, it's the loves, it's the values that, people instill in the child. It's the warmth, it's the food, it's the culture. Those are the things that bring up a human being. So why shouldn't they be brought up by two men or two women or whatever the case may be? She, her, that's for me. But I do say that, if someone has consistently said that I would prefer this, then you address them as, it takes nothing away from you to see someone as they want to be seen. So for me, it's she and her. Yeah, but it sucks. It sucks because I shouldn't have to be brave to walk out of the door. That makes no sense, I shouldn't have to be brave to have gone through a bunch of men who I'm fine and but it is what it is, and I'm proud of myself that I can be myself, because that's really what it's about. I think the worst I've heard is stubborn, I think. Yeah.
Is that worse, or is it in the way they say it, or what they
Does it affect me? I really don't care. Just use my name. You know my name. If you don't know my name, hey Sisi, if you don't have, just use something that doesn't warrant me to feel other than not good. You know what I mean? I think it's just being decent. So if you want to try to make me feel like there's something wrong with me, then I don't engage with you. But there's no need for that. It's completely unnecessary. It just means that you're an awful person. You're just an a-hole. So I don't really, no one cares about a-holes, But there is a lot of ignorance as well. Some people can say it without not meaning or having any bad intentions. But again, it comes back to there's no longer really any excuse for people not to be sensitive to other people. The information is there, the TV is there, it's everywhere. I think make the effort to find out. If you're confused, just Google. That's what I would say. I think being brave is being yourself. It's living your truth every single day, waking up and deciding to be yourself, and despite the odds, yeah.